What's up, baseball players? I'm Coach Dan Blewett. In today's video, let's talk about how to chop up the plate into middle, halves, thirds, and corners to determine what's the most effective pitch strategy on a given count and how we can maximize strike throwing with the idea that we want to throw a quality pitch in some counts more than others. So in today's video, we'll talk about some pitching strategy here in baseball and how we can get the most out of our command and the strike zone so we can get more hitters out. All right, so if you're new here, I'm Dan Blewett. I'm a former pro baseball pitcher. In the description links below, you'll find my online pitching courses, my 3 baseball books, and other ways to support the channel and to grow your knowledge as a ball player. So definitely check those out. So in today's video, let's talk about middle, halves, thirds, and corners, and elevating and bouncing pitches, which are all the sort of main locations that you'll throw to as a pitcher. So the big thing to cover, and I'll link to the description link below where you can find my video about the strike zone basics and understanding margin for error and how that interacts with the count. But for now, let's quickly cover the fact that margin for error is one of the main things that dictates what you do as a pitcher and what you throw in a certain count. So margin for error is how much can we miss and still do the job that we're trying to do. So a good example is kicking a soccer ball into an open goal. If your only goal is to kick it in the goal, like there's no goalie there, then you would aim for the center of the goal, right? That way, if you kick it a little bit to the right or a little bit left or a little bit high, you still maximize your chance of kicking it in the goal. That's your only job, right? If your only goal is to throw a called strike, then the most logical thing to do would be to throw it right down the middle. Or not throw it down the middle, but aim right down the middle. That way you can miss here, you can miss there, you can miss here, you can miss there, you can miss up, you can miss down. You can miss in a lot of different directions and still throw that called strike. You have as much margin for error as you can. If your goal is to throw a high quality pitch and nail your spot on the corner, and you don't care if you throw a ball because it's 0-2, then aiming for the corner makes sense, even though you'll lose quite a bit of margin for error because even a little miss over here becomes a ball, whereas over here a little miss is still a strike. So that's the core thing to remember. Margin for error is the underlying principle behind where you set up based on the count and the hitter and the situation. Margin for error is huge. Okay, so let's talk about how to cut up the plate to be most effective based on the count. So basically, if you're a coach and you want to learn how to teach your kids how to call pitches, which I really think kids should call their own game, not coaches, then what you should do is explain that an easy way to start this is to say that each count sort of corresponds to a different slice of the plate. So when we need let's go down this first. So throwing down the middle, aiming down the middle. We aim down the middle when our main goal is just to throw a strike and probably get ahead in the count or catch up in the count. So we aim down the middle, not because we want it to end up here. We aim down the middle because, again, it gives us the most margin for error. And the counts that we would do that on are 3-0, 2-0, 1-0, 3-1, counts like that where we're pretty far behind and we need to catch up. Again, there's exceptions to all this. I won't go down that rabbit hole in this video because this is more of a basics video. But in general, you'll aim down the middle when you're behind in the count, especially if you're more than 2 pitches behind, like 2-0, 3-0, 3-0, or 3-1. The next location is cutting the plate into 2 halves. So you slice it down the middle, and then the catcher's going to set up with the center of his body and the center of his mitt, splitting one of the halves, either the outer half or the inner half, depending on the hitter. And the halves, they start to move the pitcher to one side or the other. So mentally, it helps the pitcher say, I need to get the ball in, or I need to throw the ball away. But it doesn't give us too much, it doesn't put us too far to the corner where we lose all of our margin for error. And then we're probably at risk of falling behind or running the count back even. So splitting the plate into halves is great on even counts, especially. So like 1-1, 2-2, and 3-2 is an even count because basically you're full on both balls and strikes. So going to the halves on 0-0, 1-1, 2-2, or 3-2 is a really good tactic, especially for amateur pitchers. And my last note on throwing to the halves, pro pitchers, including major league pitchers, throw to the half of the plate much more than you'd realize. When they're going first pitch, second pitch, even count, they're going on the halves quite a lot because, again, it moves them mentally to that part of the plate, but it still gives them a little bit of room to miss. And if you're on the half and you miss by 2 inches in or away, wherever your target's supposed to be, that's on the third of the plate, and that's a high quality pitch. All right, the next location is the inner third or outer third. So splitting the plate into thirds. So you'd cut the plate into 3 slices and ignore the middle slice. So the counts where you throw to the inner third or outer third are going to be when you're ahead in the count as a pitcher. So 0-1 or 1-2. Again, we could go down a rabbit hole in this. It could be 1-1 or even the first pitch of the at bat if it's a really important situation. The hitter's really, really tough. So it can always depend. But in general, it's a great rule of thumb to say we're going to go to the thirds of the plate, inner or outer third only, when we're ahead in the count. So 0-1, 1-2, or even 0-2. But the thirds of the plate is where it becomes really difficult to hit as a hitter, where you're going to start to jam guys when you go inside, or they're really going to have to be good to hit that ball hard away because it's starting to get towards the edge of the plate. It's not so far in or out. We're on the corners where we have very little margin for error, but the thirds, the inner third or outer third, still gives us a lot of plate to work with while still being very effective if you do hit your spot. So inner outer thirds are going to correspond to being ahead in the count. All right, and our last location here is, I'm gonna lump a bunch together. This is corners, elevate, or bounce. And these all have essentially the same intention, which is to either get a strikeout or to just throw the toughest possible pitch in that situation. So throwing a fastball in the outer corner, inner corner, they're not really strikeout pitches because they're only going to miss that pitch if they're not very good or the umpire just calls them out on strikes. If you really want someone to miss and to strike them out on a fastball, you're going to elevate that fastball because that is where hitters, they think they can get up to it, but they really can't in time, especially if you throw hard and you have a good four-seamer. So it's good to think of 0-2 as like your strikeout count. It's your main count to just say, I'm going to strike this guy out, and if I miss, I'm going to miss off the plate for a ball, and that's perfectly fine. We don't really want to do that on other counts because it tends to run a pitcher's pitch count up, and especially for amateur pitchers who don't have great command, if we get a chance to be 0-2, let's try to get them to swing in the bat while still trying to get that strikeout. And then if we don't, on 1 and 2, we want them to put the ball in play with weak contact. That's where we go back to the thirds of the plate and don't try so hard to strike them out. But on 0-2, we can go to the corner, inner, outer. We can elevate a fastball, which means we're throwing it just above the strike zone, or we can bounce that curveball or slider or fade that changeup into the dirt. Those things make sense because on 0-2, if we get the strikeout, it eliminates the possibility that they hit a blooper that falls in, they hit a swinging bunt that we can't field, or they hit a ground ball that goes through our shortstop's legs. It eliminates all that bad luck that's present in baseball. But I don't think it's a good tactic to do that on any time you get 2 strikes. You shouldn't be hunting for strikeouts on 2-2 and 1-2 as much because, and again, situationally, that can make sense for sure, but we don't really want to be as strikeout focused on those counts because it will tend to run your pitch count up. And if you're a starter, it's going to be really hard to make it later into games, to make it deeper into games, and to eat up innings that help your team win. So when you're 0-2, you can go to the corners, elevate the fastball, or bounce that breaking ball. All right, so let's summarize. A really good pitching strategy simply can involve slicing the plate into 4 slices and giving each of those slices a corresponding count. So aiming down the middle, again, this is we're going for margin for error. This could be 3-0, 3-1, 2-0, 1-0, or first pitch of the at-bat. Cutting the plate into halves. That's best for even counts, like 1-1, 2-2, 3-2. Going to the thirds of the plate. That's best for 0-1, 1-2, or 0-2 when you're ahead in the count. And then going to the corners of the plate, or elevating or bouncing a breaking ball. That's going to be best for 0-2 count. So if you're a coach and you want to start teaching your kids how to call a smart game and help them learn the deep, amazing strategy side of baseball, this is a great place to start. Assign a count to a slice of the plate. So thanks for watching. I hope you found this video helpful. Be sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Check out my pitching books and online courses in the description below. And share this video with a friend. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you here in the next video.